practically through the smoke. It makes me feel so deliciously mysterious.
What the Smurf? Well, that's what I would say if I was in the Smurf world. Fortunately, I am not, thank God. But welcome back to Natural One, where we bring your favorite characters into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. While we may not be Smurfaholics, our subject for today's build, Gargamel, is certainly immersed in everything blue and Smurfy. From attempting to murder the Smurfs at every turn, to trying to turn them into the Philosopher's Stone, I'm not really sure, to causing infighting because the male Smurfs were too smurfed on by Smurfette. Gargamel is causing no good. With all that out of the way, let's check out the recipe for the ultimate Smurf villain.
Oh, I must find a laboratory in which to tease the magic from these precious little strands.
Gargamel certainly is no Master Chief, no Percy Jackson, or even a Papa Smurf. It's crazy to think about the fact that some shirtless 3-inch guy is more powerful than the actual human. Regardless, we all have to start somewhere. Let's get into what makes up Gargamel. Starting off strong, he's got a 15 intelligence. He's actually pretty good at creating traps. Successful traps at that. No Acme garbage around here. A 14 in con is a must. While he does create successful traps, the Smurfs always find a smurfing way around them, and he's bound to take a beating in the process. Strength gets a 13. It's weird, I know, but just trust the process. He's not super strong, but he certainly will shock you, especially if you're comparing him to someone so much smaller than him. Ever seen The Rock and Kevin Hart? The 12 flies into the wisdom slot. While he's easily outsmarted by the Smurfs at times, but he also has some emotional intelligence, offering to help the Smurfs when they truly need it. Just because he is bad guy does not mean he is bad guy. Charisma comes in at a respectable 10. He doesn't have the best relationship history, he lives all by himself, and let's be honest, just take a look at him. Finally, dexterity at a measly 8. He's known to be clumsy, hell, when even clumsy Smurf is catching wands better than you are, you know that there's a problem there.
To my castle for more essence!
For his race, what did you really expect? Dragonborn? No, obviously he's a variant human. That's just how it's gotta be. Basically all the characters in pop culture are gonna be human, but regardless, he's getting a nice boost in both intelligence and constitution, readying him for any fight against the Smurfs. He also picks up Resilient as his feat to really bolster his resolve, making sure the Smurfs never take him down. At least not for too long. It's like an I can do this all day type beat. He also gets nature proficiency, just so he can differentiate the mushroom houses the Smurfs live in and the regular mushrooms, if he rolls well on his check. Wait, what's the name of this channel again? That can't be good. Finally, he speaks Smurf, the language of his sworn enemies, cause why the Smurf not? For his background, he's a recluse loser who lives alone in a tower plotting revenge against 3-inch creatures. He's a hermit through and through. He gets medicine and religion proficiencies to really smurf in his magical prowess, as well as an herbalism kit for his potion making.
A dash of that. And now I stir it all together. I've done it! I've done it! Asriel, I think I've finally done it! One spoonful of this should be enough to wipe out the entire Smurf population!
We'll start out Gargamel with a level in Wizard. That's what he is. Lives in a tower, has a cat. Why am I explaining this? You probably agreed with me already, didn't you? Anyway, he also picks up Arcana and History proficiencies, showing how dedicated he is to his arcane arts. He also picks up Arcane Recovery, allowing him to quickly recover his smurfing spells on a whim. Really helps him keep up with those pesky Smurfs. Speaking of, he also gets some spells. I know, shocker. For his cantrips, he grabs Create Bonfire for those long nights in the Smurfin Woods, Mold Earth for a basic pitfall trap, and Friends to convince the Smurfs he's on their side, at least for a little bit. He also gets some versatile spells in Snare, Grease, and Alarm for traps, Detect Magic to find those Smurfs, Distort Value is a great value Philosopher's Stone conversion, and, most importantly, his cat Azrael is along for the ride with Find Familiar. Level 2 allows him to specialize in his true passion, turning the Smurfs into gold to build the Philosopher's Stone for ultimate power. Long story short, this allows him to specialize in transmutation. He gets cheaper transmutation spells through Transmutation Savant, but more importantly, he can turn one substance to another, but only temporarily. Imagine the Smurf's reaction if Smurfette just smurfed into clay after like an hour or so. That'd be truly a horrifying experience. At level 3, not a whole lot of excitement. Even the evilest of villains need a break, and he definitely is a villain of all time. He picks up Web to help keep those Smurfs trapped for good, and Arcane Lock for traps of his own or for his own personal safekeeping. Those Smurfs can be deadly, or at least a mild inconvenience in your road to greatness. Moving on to level 4, Gargamel gets a massive bump to his intelligence with a +2, maybe even rivaling that of Papa Smurf? Oh, who am I smurfing? He's no Papa Smurf. He also gets Cause Fear added to his repertoire, following Gargamel like a horrifying aura of smurfing proportions. Maybe that's why he can't get a date. Another mundane level at level 5. Gargamel focuses on his trapping abilities even harder. He picks up 2 new spells. Glyph of Warning, store any spell in order to trap some Smurfs all around his tower. Speaking of spells for that purpose, he also picks up Hypnotic Pattern, because he wants to kidnap them. Having a mobile Smurfs is probably the easiest way for him to do it. Here's a nice little switch up at level 6. Gargamel is taking a break from the mundane magic and focusing harder on Smurf-proofing his traps. He switches up his skills and focuses on becoming an artificer. He gets some magical tinkering, allowing him to make small little trinkets to lure the Smurfs away from their home village. I can guarantee you that Nosy Smurf wants to know where those chocolate chip cookie smells are coming from. He also picks up some new spells, highlighting the group as Fairy Fire, Catapult, and Prestidigitation. Now he's stepping it up at level 7, picking up some funky new infusions. He's got a Homunculus Servant, and in doing so, he's finally able to make his Naughties. Yeah, that's what they're called. Yes, it's a weird name, so I'm just going to call them Gray Smurfs, okay? We're cool with that? Gray Smurfs? Good. But in addition to this, he also gets a Bag of Holding to keep those Smurfs in while he's returning home. Well, level 8 brings a nice little specialty in Artificer, Alchemist. He picks up proficiency in alchemical supplies, really honing in on those potions for trapping those Smurfs. He can also make any potion with his experimental elixir, but he's probably mostly going to be sticking to the transformation potion. He also picks up Ray of Sickness to keep those Smurfs drowsy and debilitated. Another slow level, level 9, a nice +2 in his constitution. He's gotten beat up a handful of times, he can easily take a hit now. He also picks up Expeditious Retreat to quickly escape with any Smurfs, if he can ever get his hands on them. Now at level 10, he learns to be an alchemical savant. He can use his alchemical supplies to focus on his spells and traps, or do bonus damage to certain damage types. If he had any damaging spells, regardless, he's adapted into his Smurf roundings. Moving on to level 11, Gargamel becomes a tool expert. At least sometimes. With tool expertise, he doubles his proficiency bonus for alchemist and herbalism kit checks. He also gains another infusion, this time a fashionable one. The Cloak of Billowing may not be perfect, but it certainly adds a bit of flair, and maybe some intimidation? I doubt it, but maybe. Perfect to pair with his new spell, Pyrotechnics. He's truly got a knack for showmanship. There's no way that pushover Smurf is standing up to him now.
What a find, Azrael! With this spell, I can turn metal into gold! Do you hear, Azrael? Metal into gold!
Level 12 brings a welcome return to Gargamel's roots, Wizard. He grabs a Transmuter Stone, which is powered by Smurf Essence, just like the Philosopher's Stone. Or, if you want to be boring, it's first level spells, but let us add some flavor, okay? Now we can Smurf Transmutation Magic, which has a large list of potential Smurf effects, including Dark Vision, Walking Speed, and Damage Resistance. He also picks up some more spells. Tiny Servant, which can also be used to create Smurfette, another Gray Smurf, though, of course she becomes good later, but let's get into that. It's a whole thing about her being made out of clay, and speaking about this, can we stop the video real quick, like time out, pause the music? Because I've just been thinking, and I just need to come out and say it. The Smurfs do not deserve Smurfette. When she's being introduced to the village, she was bullied and teased by the other Smurfs for being overweight and ugly. Excuse me? That is a wild way to interact with the first woman you've seen in years. She was literally bullied so hard, she was depressed until Papa Smurf offered to do plastic smurfery to make her beautiful, and then the Smurfs noticed her. So, yeah, it's really messed up. Imagine doing that and then pretending you don't deserve to get turned into gold. Smurf the Smurfs, am I right? Anyway, where was I? Oh, right. Level 13 is another one of those wizard levels where it's just spells. Fabricate and Arcane Eye get added to Gargamel's repertoire, further cementing his trapping and transmutation skills. At level 14, we give Gargamel his first feat. If you ignore the other feat we gave him, but just let us have some fun, okay? You see, this is where the 13th strength comes in. You were questioning that, weren't you? I told you we had a reason. Well, it's all going to make sense now. He takes the grappler feat here, because how else is he going to hold on to those pesky Smurfs long enough to shove them into the bag of holding? That's super good reasoning, right? This is why you come to us for such premium content. Oh, and he also gets Locate Creature, which is wildly useful until you consider the fact that he must have struggles with Smurfentration, even with Resilient, because he can never seem to find the village. And at level 15, Gargamel is finally starting to get somewhere in his plans, picking up Transmute Rock. He can start using Smurf Essence to make the Philosopher's Stone, which will give him power or something. Still unclear, but it sounds like he believes it'll make him the most powerful wizard ever. I don't know, I'm not a Smurf fan. Then at level 16, he starts getting devious. He smurfs polymorph to a smurf book, but unfortunately it doesn't do what he wants it to do. He cannot turn those pesky smurfs into gold, at least not with polymorph. What a waste of a spell. He'll never use it again. He also picks up True Smurf, I mean Strike, so he never misses a hit on those tiny little smurfs. A super important spell. Do not comment asking why. Another step in the right direction at level 17 with Create Homunculus, as Gargamel can now make more Gray Smurfs. Now Smurfette's siblings, Vexy and Hackus, can join the squad, helping to destroy the Smurfs. I'm sure that doing the same plan over and over again will gain results. I'm pretty sure that's what they say is sanity or something, I'm not sure. Anyway, he also gets Flesh to Stone, so he can start taking those Smurfs he captures in his dreams, because he never actually captures the Smurfs, and turn them into his ultimate goal, which has been smurfed multiple times in this video. If only he was playing Baldur's Gate. At level 18, another feat. He picks up Metamagic Adept, picking up a few things from his compatriots in the evil wizarding world. He gains Twin Spell and Extended Smurf. It's spell, I'm sorry. To hit more Smurfs and for longer. He can also sneak past the Smurfs a lot easier with non-detection. We're back to the not-so-Smurf sighting levels at level 19. He can lure the Smurfs away from their protected village with Nethair's Mischief, causing a multitude of sensory effects. Hell, they may even make Grumpy Smurf intrigued. He can also use Locate Object to once again fail at finding the Smurf village. Is that really what the script says? What the Smurf is this dude's Smurfing deal? Now, the Big Bang, the ultimate crescendo to a less than stellar villain. At level 20, Gargamel becomes a master transmuter. He can change one non-Smurfical object to another, which allows him to convert Smurfs to gold or stone or whatever his wildest imagination can come up with. And he got a nice little tool to hold them with. Force Cage. Now there is no possible way they can escape, right? Because Papa Smurf definitely does not know to spell magic, right? Right?
And what about those nasty little Smurfs? Have you caught them yet?
Well,
Of course not.
To most, Gargamel may seem like an under-Smurfic villain, and he is, don't Smurf me wrong. But to a group of non-magical 3-inch creatures, he's still pretty effective at being the most terrifying thing out there. Let's see why. He's a trap king. He's got tons of ways to trap, distract, or otherwise immobilize you. Force Cage, Nethair's Mischief, Snare, Grease, and much more. Now he's just waiting for his trap queen. He's got senses like a hawk. Well, not a hawk, but he's a great tracker. Locate Object and Locate Person are just two of the many tracking options he has in his magical repertoire. He's a supreme transmuter. Well, this should not come as a shock. He's really good at transmutation magic and has tons of options. Polymorph, Flesh to Stone, and the Transmuter Stone are just a few. He's also got potions, and more potions. On top of all the magic options, he's got potions and a bit of healing. Healing Word and his experimental elixir allow for some brief support and utility from Gargamel. Now, just because Scaredy Smurf may be scared of him, Papa Smurf is not too worried about his chances. Why is that, you ask? Well, he's not a fighter. He's absolutely, under no circumstances, made for combat. He's 168 hit points, 12 AC, and basically nothing useful in actual combat. Yikes. He's also not a killer. He's got no big damaging options, so if he's your last man standing, you may as well be dead. Good luck. He's also smurfing crazy. His enemies are 3-inch tall blue people, which, well, I mean, it's not like 3 inches that's small. In fact, I would argue it's at least average. I mean, some might say that 3 inches is really big, but, anyways, regardless, his enemies aren't only small, but he loses. Consistently. How are you going to be one of the biggest, baddest, scariest, smurfiest wizards in the world if you can't even hold on to one little smurf? What a smurfer, dude. Well, I hope you smurfed that video. If you did, make sure you smurf that like button, smurf the notification bell, and be sure to smurfscribe so you never smurf a video. If you want to smurf Gargamel in your own campaign, smurf on over to our Patreon, where you can smurf this character Smurf and all the past smurfs on this channel completely for free. Well, I've got to smurf the Smurf to Smurf. Remember, keep those dice smurfing, and we'll smurf you on the Smurf side. What the hell just happened? I feel like I was possessed. I mean, who even says Smurf that many times? Like, I think I'm just gonna go lie down.